Lindsey Graham knows that he is a massive hypocrite, but he's trying to explain it away. Here is what he had to say for himself at the Amy Coney Barrett hearings today.
What will happen is that my Democratic colleagues will say, this has never been done, and they're right in this regard. Nobody's, I think, has ever been confirmed in an election year past July. The bottom line is Justice Ginsburg, when asked about this several years ago, said that a president serves for 4 years, not 3. There's nothing unconstitutional about this process. This is a vacancy that's occurred through a tragic loss of a great woman, and we're going to fill that vacancy with another great woman. The bottom line here is that the Senate is doing its duty constitutionally. And we can talk about history, but here's the history as I understand it. There's never been a situation where you had a president of one party in the Senate of another, where the nominee, the replacement was made in an election year. It's been over 140 years ago. All I can say is that I feel that we're doing this constitutionally, that our Democratic friends object to the process. I respect them all.
Yeah, I mean, he's like giving all of these explanations. Oh, we're starting the hearings on a Monday in October, which means it's fall, which means that the sun is perfectly aligned on Amy Coney Barrett's face. So that makes it actually totally normal and not hypocritical, except he knows he's a hypocrite. The problem is, and this is, I think, a light bulb moment for liberals, they don't care about being called hypocrites. They don't care about hypocrisy shaming, even though it's fun and gratifying for us, much like those Lincoln Project ads that actually don't win anybody over. It doesn't do anything for them. Lindsey Graham knows he's a hypocrite. This is what he said in March 2016, as you guys will likely remember. I want you to use my words against me. If there's a Republican president in 2016 and a vacancy occurs in the last year of his first term, you can say Lindsey Graham said, let's let the next president, whoever it might be, make that nomination, and you could use my words against me and you'd be absolutely right. Okay, I do think though that there is a limit to how much hypocrisy people can handle. So Republicans strategically just blow past it with just force of will. And they're way better at that than Democrats, who are extremely weak, obviously. Just, okay, that's kind of their entire philosophy when it comes to strategy against the GOP. But fortunately, the opponent to Lindsey Graham in South Carolina is using this hypocrisy to seemingly pretty good effect. He's quite well funded, and this could be, in a year that's a referendum on Trump, something that could potentially sink Lindsey Graham, and he has to calculate for that. So Jamie Harrison, the Democrat challenging Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, raised an astonishing $57 million from July through September, the highest quarterly fundraising total for any Senate candidate in US history, and part of a flood of Democratic money remaking the battle for the control of the Senate. Before this year, the biggest quarterly haul for a Senate candidate was $38 million, raised by former Representative Beto O'Rourke of Texas during his unsuccessful challenge to Senator Ted Cruz in 2018. So doesn't bode exactly well for Jamie Harrison, but Mr. Harrison blew past that by nearly $20 million, raising more than twice as much in a single quarter as Mr. Graham reported raising in the previous 6 quarters combined. Mr. Graham has not yet announced his third quarter numbers, which means they're probably bad. Money, of course, does not guarantee victory, and Mr. Graham is still running in a conservative state that has not sent a Democrat to the Senate in more than 2 decades. Recent polls have shown a dead heat in a Quinnipiac University survey late last month. Mr. Graham and Mr. Harrison were tied at 48%, with 95% of likely voters saying their minds were made up. The campaign received 1.5 million donations from 994,000 donors, according to Mr. Harrison's campaign, and the average contribution was $37. But much of that money came from out-of-state donors, which raises questions about how much it reflects the sentiments of South Carolina voters versus the feelings of the national electorate, much like the Beto O'Rourke race I mentioned before. Mr. Graham's reversal on seating a Supreme Court justice in an election year has enraged liberal donors nationally, says Curtis Loftus, the Republican state treasurer, but not necessarily as many voters in South Carolina. But you are a Republican saying that, the man quoted there, the polls don't reflect that it has caused a shift. I would say that it's more anti-Trump sentiment than anything. But Jayar, I want your thoughts on this because I do think Harrison is mounting a very significant challenge to Graham. And the fact that Graham is so public in the weeks leading up to his reelection effort could hurt him because he's so insanely shameless as the most prominent voice on the Judiciary Committee in these hearings.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if he feels this is his last gasp because he went on Hannity, he went on other Fox News shows. We're talking about Lindsey Graham and spoke about how he needs help. Help me. Help me now, help me again, about every time that he was getting destroyed money-wise by Jamie Harrison. And he said, they just hate me. Oh boy, do they just hate me. These are the reasons why they just hate you. So anytime a Republican begins to feel a little bit of a sense of a consequence for the things that they've done, it's just people just hate me. They hate me, so I need you guys to help me because the haters hate me. Or maybe you did something to cause people to dislike you. Maybe your policies are anti-American. Maybe you're not representing the people that elected you before. Maybe you never represented the people that elected you and they're just now finding out that you're the person who never represented them. And there's many times that you can hold their words against them, as Lindsey Graham pointed out. And hopefully on November 3rd, enough people that are put in a place to vote against him will hold his words against him. That's kind of the only way now because they know this is the last thing that they can possibly do, which is shove through another Supreme Court nominee and show up the hypocrisy all you want. And if Lindsey Graham goes riding off into the woods, into non-existence, he doesn't care. He's still rich. He still had his time in the Senate, and then he still had a chance to put in one more Supreme Court justice on the basis of hypocrisy to lead his legacy that he can get patted on the back at all of his fundraising events and all of the whatever lobbying he may get into later. As long as he's done his job, that's a good soldier that has been honorably discharged from the Republican Party, or at least of elected officials of the Republican Party. I have a list of a few other things we can hold Republicans accountable for. The way that Lindsey Graham says, hold his feet to the fire, use it against me. We can use this against them. That they said they're gonna create a healthcare plan and they're gonna get rid of pre-existing conditions when it comes to under Obamacare. I'm still looking for that healthcare plan. Trump said he's gonna lower drug prices from the most favored nations proposal. That thing got delayed because pharmaceutical companies said, no, you're not gonna do that. Hold that over their heads as well. Remember when Ivanka Trump was hanging out with her father and they said they're gonna have 6 weeks of paid leave for new moms? Remember that? Hold that over their heads. There's more things than just this we can hold over their heads. Infrastructure, he said, infrastructure. He pulled back on infrastructure because he wanted the Democrats, who they were talking about infrastructure plans, wanted Democrats to stop investigating him and his Russian ties. That's how much he cares about infrastructure in this country. He's gonna lower the national debt. It's increased by like $7-8 trillion. Tax cuts, remember those tax cuts for the middle class that actually benefit the richest Americans? And then a few middle class folks got it, but then by 10-15 years from now, 87% of the tax cuts are gonna be all benefiting the richest 1% of people in our country. These are the things that we can hold over the Republican Party, not just Donald Trump and the Republican Party, because he can't do what he does without his enablers. His enablers put him in this position, and now they're using him for one last gasp to get the Supreme Court nominee through, and they're gonna be very happy if they do.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.